All right, good evening and welcome to the November 6th meeting of the Economic Development Council. My name is Derek Horn. I serve as the Economic Development Coordinator and the Town Administrator's rep on this board. And I'll ask for the other members to introduce themselves.
Andrew Cataract.
Chris Nato, Planning Board.
Alan Brown, Selectman.
Tim Redmond, member.
The first item on the agenda tonight are minutes from the October 2nd meeting. I believe they were posted on the website, so I don't know if everyone's had a chance to review those and see those for approval.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the minutes?
Minutes were from the September 4th meeting?
No, they're actually from the October 2nd meeting.
Okay.
All right, call for a vote on the October 2nd meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? It's 501. I'd like to skip almost to the end to new business because we do have a guest. Scott Gross from the Lions Club is here and came in this afternoon. So Scott, if you could just come up and
Where do you want me to go?
right there is fine. So you can talk in the mic.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. How are you? A couple of years ago, the Lions Club, along with the Economic Development Council, sponsored a business expo. We did it 2 years in a row. And the main thrust of it back then was to have a business expo, but use the proceeds for the 250th celebration. We didn't do this, though, for the last couple of years, and we wanted to take a little bit of a break. But we are planning on doing it again on April 5th, 2014. And I did secure a space from the high school for that particular date. So I was hoping that we could partner with the Business Expo again, because last time the EDC was there. They helped us in terms of the list of the businesses in town, sending out some letters, and you guys had a booth there. You had a laptop, and you were showing people different sites that were available, things of that nature. The other thing that was good about it was it was good that the businesses themselves interacted with each other. I know, Brian, you were there. We had about 500 or 600 people come through. I would love for that number to be larger. And you know, we did set aside, I think, about $1,000 from the Lions Club end to do more advertising and signage. So hopefully we'll be able to get the word out. So not only do we want businesses to interact with each other, but we want the community to go in to see what businesses we have in Goffstown and what they have to offer. So I was hoping to get your blessing that you would be partners with us. We certainly could probably do it on our own, but I think it would be much, much easier, and I think it would be beneficial if the town and the EDC was part of it. So if you have any questions, I'm certainly can answer any of them.
Basically, what do you mean partnership? In other words, we'll just kind of all going together on it, or?
No, I guess we were looking for the support in terms of, I mean, Derek had helped us the last time because he gave us the listing of all the businesses in a format, and then I think Derek actually sent out the letters.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have a listing. I mean, we could do it, but it would be very labor intensive for us to kind of manually do it when it's more or less at your disposal. And certainly I would, last time around, the town was very helpful too, because they put out the reader boards to try to help advertise it a little bit. So just whatever the town can do to try to promote the event. And like I said, it is a fundraiser for the Lions Club. That goes back to the community, but the other byproduct of it is that it does help the businesses in town get the word out about who they are and also to network amongst themselves.
Scott, I was also a part of that expo. I bought a booth 2 years in a row for myself, and we were up against a conflicting schedule. I think the first year there was something else going on the same day. So could you please make sure when you set a date that we don't conflict with some kind of a big sporting event in town or something? That
Yeah, we set the date. The first time we did it, I think it was in
May.
Yeah.
And it was bad because I think it was Little League had their opening day. So we were very intentional about making sure that it was in April. And I say that, Tim, because we wanted it so that the weather was good,
Yes,
but not good enough. All right?
I hear you. As long as you're considering that concept.
Yeah, we definitely did when we set the date. And it's far away from Easter. I think Easter is in the middle or latter part of April, so we've ruled that out.
Thank you, Scott.
Do we have funds in the budget to support that if letters are going out?
Yeah, there are still funds in the 2014 budget for next year for EDC. There's a $4,000 budget. And then as far as reader boards, I would say the EDC can make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen on that issue.
And if there was an issue, I mean, obviously, we're committed to to the event, and we do a craft fair. We send out letters, but we also do it via email. So we'll try to do it in the most cost-effective way possible.
I wasn't here for it. Where does it take place, and is it just like a bunch of booths?
Yeah, it takes place in the high school gym.
Okay.
And depending upon the number of participants, like the last couple of years, it actually spilled over into the middle gym area and then also into that back gym / cafe.
Mm-hmm.
My goal this year, and I'm going to try my best to do it, is I want to have the back cafe more of like a health fair type expo where we're bringing medical, dental practitioners. Maybe they'll do some, because our mission at the Lions Club is to help people with sight and hearing. But we're trying to maybe combine some of that where kids can get a free vision checkup. People can get blood pressure checked in the back gym. And we had a few businesses that were healthcare related at that particular time. And then the rest would be just a myriad of different companies, from locksmiths to landscapers to general contractors to pampered chef, you name it.
Yeah.
Cool. Had a few restaurants that were giving away samples. We had Stonebridge there. We had probably up a half a dozen restaurants. So it was
Some apartment building, like condo places advertising there.
it was a very wide swath of businesses that participated.
Crispin House.
Yeah.
You want to have a motion to, I guess, support the Lions Club?
I would make a motion to support it.
I guess with the understanding that we'll determine how much of the budget to spend on that in future
Could we
date.
I'll second Brian's motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Look forward to working with you.
Thanks, Scott.
Scott?
All right. The welcome to Goffstown sign. Looking at some of the price range for the type of sign we were looking for and the size we'd be looking for, we would have to go out to blind bid, an RFP process through the Board of Selectmen, or request that the Board of Selectmen waive that process, because for our level, anything $5,000 and over would hit that level.
You looking to put up a sign?
Yeah, the welcome.
Our club was looking to do that, so maybe I'll listen. Well, maybe we can help you.
Good timing.
We've been discussing a welcome to Goffstown sign or multiple signs. One of the things that Tim talked about last time was following the actual zoning regulations, and where we talked about on 114, on the east side of 114 is commercially zoned. So a freestanding sign can be 65 square feet. So, more than enough sign size. But as you get closer to the 114, 114A intersection, that falls back down to residential 1, where you're not even permitted freestanding sign for a business.
Would we be considered a business with a welcome to Goffstown sign?
Again, it wouldn't, because it's a municipal use and it's a welcome to Goffstown, it wouldn't fall under the zoning. I was looking at, there's nothing really comparable in the zoning ordinance for this type of sign, so.
We have other signs that are in residential zones. We have the high school, Goffstown High School sign, the Glen Lake School sign.
We could probably make an exemption, couldn't we? The selectmen could always.
Yeah, it's a decision. I think the discussion we had at the last meeting was to try and follow the guidelines of the zoning ordinance.
And, I was looking at that intersection of 114A and 114, and there is a lot of signage there now. So I think we would need to take into consideration what's already there, and you don't want to over-sign that area. So I don't know if, after looking at the spot, thinking about whether multiple signs, welcome to Goffstown, welcome to Penardville. I don't know if that would fall. I don't know if there's a sign consultant that could kind of give us the best advice as to how to rebrand that, maybe all the signs there, as opposed to just one.
Well, we were looking to have the sign on actually 114.
Right.
On the line.
Right.
Yeah.
But we were also talking about multiple signs going, as you get to 114A, and I don't know if that's what you were.
Well, we could have all the consultants we want, except the New Hampshire DOT regulates all the signs on that road.
That's your main concern.
So we would have to make an application to Hampshire DOT for anything on the state highway for openers. The sign at the town line, at the Bedford line, I went down and checked the site down there after our discussion, and one of my concerns was to light the sign for two reasons. For one, for nighttime vision, and secondly, for vandalism.
Yep.
And I did look, and there's about 300 feet up the road, just into the town of Goffstown, is where the first telephone pole is. So if we do erect a sign, it would be advisable to put it there and request that the Board of Selectmen allow another street light to be added to the town's inventory. That way a street light could be put onto the pole with a photo sensor. It would go on at night and go off in the morning, and it would be added to the inventory of what the town already has for streetlights.
I wonder if it'd be cheaper to put lights right on the sign itself.
We'd have to have we'd have to have a service there, Alan. We'd have to put in an electric service with a meter to do all that, to illuminate the sign ourselves, and then we would get a monthly bill for it, and we'd be responsible for
Go
it.
solar.
You'd have to have a power supply.
Go solar. Put a solar one. Put a little panel up there. Charge a battery if you had to.
Well, you could do that, I suppose.
I mean, it'd be a lot.
I think it'd be a lot cheaper to put a street light up. Street lights are very inexpensive by the standards.
Probably would be.
And the town already has a budget for street lights, and if you added a single street light to the town's street light budget, I don't think it would be an appreciable difference. It certainly would benefit the community, and it would be public services' responsibility to maintain it, install it, troubleshoot it. Anything that's wrong with it, public service owns it. We don't have anything invested in it other than a monthly charge.
And how close to the town line is this?
If you go down there and look, it's probably only 300 feet from the little green sign that says Goffstown.
That's not far.
You just go up the road about 300 feet, and that's where the telephone line crosses to the other side of the road.
Yeah.
And there is power there, and generally wherever there's power on a pole, public service will put up a street light for you, with a request and a bill and everything goes with it. And I think vandalism is a big issue between you and me. If you're going to have a sign down there in the dark, it's easy to be vandalized, and with a light on it, you're going to reduce the amount of, possibility that I think that would be vandalized. But that's where I was mentioning. We did talk about what you're talking about, though. We did mention having a sign possibly at St. A's, possibly one at the 114A intersection. It would direct people to Penardville in one direction and the village in the other direction. That was part of the discussion, I remember.
It was, and like you said, that's all DOT right away, so it would.
Well, we'd still have to have a DOT permit for a sign down at the town line, regardless. But to dress up the signage at that intersection, it'll never happen. They're not going to start moving signs around for our benefit.
No, but I was thinking more of whatever we have for sign at the coming into Goffstown. If there's a branding or a visual style that can be consistent. Other towns have street signs that are consistent with a welcome sign. That happens. No, Manchester has that, actually, when you go to Manchester. But anyways.
So I guess I'd like to know how you'd like to proceed, to go to the Board of Selectmen with an RFP, so we can put it out to bid for one sign, or?
Well, I think this commission has to come up with what they want before you send anything out for an RFP.
Okay.
We'll have to come out with
Figure out what you guys want and how much you want to spend on it.
a design, a sketch, a size. What are you going to build it out of? There's so many variables. So I think as a commission, we need to come up with something that, even if we just make our own sketches, and bring something in, or use the photographs you had as an example. just substitute the word Goffstown for whatever town was in one of those other signs.
Yep.
And we have to pick some colors.
Change the colors. And change the
Derek, you
names.
talked to sign people. You were going to get some estimates and whatnot.
I did some research on the internet. I didn't
Okay.
actually talk to them because I didn't want to get into the getting quoted a price and have that information. But once I saw the range of prices, it was apparent
They're
that
ranging from
over $5,000, which
Yes.
is
Could you go back to the towns who those signs were from and ask it what they had spent on them, Derek?
yeah,
by any chance?
absolutely, yeah.
And
You
we
can
were
contact
We had
me.
several different communities that had examples of signs.
Yeah. And again, I was looking for everything installed, constructed,
Yeah, well,
and then some whether it be electrical.
What if we solicit donations to do it? Does that impact going to the planning board or not? If we get $5,000 worth of donations and the bill to the town's $1,000, does that impact it?
well,
No.
I think we still have to get permission from the Board of Selectmen to do it.
Yeah, even if things are purchased with donated money, we follow the purchasing policy. So the only ones that would be able to waive that would be them.
And we're still gonna need a design sketch anyway, if we're gonna ask for donations, people are gonna wanna know what it's gonna look like.
What are we paying for?
Exactly. And I think we had mentioned before too, that the companies that are making these signs, they have several templates to choose from. It's pretty cut and dry, so we just tell them what we want, and they'll be able to give us several options.
I would think you still could go to anybody, most of the businesses in town, and get enough money together to buy a $5,000 or $6,000 sign pretty easy.
Well, I don't see that as a problem.
No, I don't think so.
I think this is a 6-month to a 1-year project. This is not going to happen before.
No.
I start up on the mountain first.
I know. I know where you want to go.
Patty Hill.
Oh, we're gonna stop at your place?
Yours.
Scott, did you?
Yeah, this is kind of interesting because the Lions Club talked about this just a couple of years ago. We're looking for a community project, and this was one of the ideas that was bandied about. So as you proceed, please look to us as a contributor for your sign. If you've gone to some communities, you'll see they have a welcome to the town, and then below that, it's Lions Club,
little medallions.
we meet,
Yeah.
and sometimes they underwrite the cost of the sign or most of the cost of the sign, and there are other service organizations, I won't mention their name, I don't want to give them free advertising, but they do the same thing. And then there are some towns where they have them all that are listed kind of below that. I will say that in terms of branding, I've dealt with Tom Sousa at Sousa Signs, and the Historic District Commission, those historic ones, those are kind of pseudo-branded already. If you go outside Town Hall here, has a look. The library, another look. So you have all these historic markers that have a certain Goffstown color, look, typeset, and that might just be the easiest thing. And this way you do have the brand and the continuity, and you have the person in town who Tom has been just incredibly generous with his time, and he's just kind of an unsung hero for me. I mean, with the Lions Club, he does so much for us. So, we would love to partner with you with that, and it might be our way of thanking you for your help on the expo, where we can donate some money. So, I just want to leave it at that. Please come to us.
Write the check.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So if you'd like, I can bring the examples that Scott mentioned of the historic markers that the historic district, but most of them again just have that arch with Goffstown written on it, and they have the similar to the high school's color of that maroon.
Probably not a bad idea.
And if anyone else has any ideas,
I think that those are designed for tight areas, those signs. That's why they're built like that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to want a broader sign.
But
Like
still the
ones,
coloring.
the ones you showed us.
Yep.
And there, I'm back to the coloring. I don't agree with the maroon color. I think Goffstown is trying to bill itself as a recreational place. The trails and everything we have. I think we need to be looking at greens and blues. The sky and the green forest, and that's just my opinion. I think maroon is great for the Goffstown Grizzlies. I don't think it's the perceived color for a welcoming sign to town. Plus, it's hard to see. Dark.
I don't know. I think there's a whole marketing concepts around colors and signs and how blue is very has one feeling and maroon tends to have more of a richer, regal feeling, and I have no idea which would be the right one. That's where someone who does signs would be able to advise on that. But I know, like, what colors? I don't know if it's blue or greens. They they have certain connotations that people think of when they see that color.
Well, we saw the signs that Derek brought in, so maybe we can look at them again sometime, Derek.
I can email those out again. Yep.
those color pictures you brought to the meeting last
Yeah,
time.
absolutely.
And can you get kind of like ballpark prices on, doing what Tim suggested, putting it underneath, street lamp or
Yep, we can get some prices of what it would be for.
solar under the street lamp or to bring power to it. I think that we should have all that information. I mean, if we can get people to donate money, I mean, you have the ideal, and you have the low end, and you have the middle,
Absolutely, I can get that information for the next meeting.
Because if it's $20,000, that's different than if it's $7,000.
Anything else? Okay, the next item is Pondview Industrial Park, the proposed zoning change. At the October 24th meeting, Tim and Charlie and I presented to the planning board the concept of changing the zoning from industrial to commercial industrial flex. There was one member in the audience that had some concern about that. He had been doing some work on there and was concerned that a potential development that was going in there currently or being looked at currently on one of those sites might be affected negatively by the change, and has just asked us to confirm with the property owner which lots he would like rezoned and if they would be to commercial industrial flex. And I've asked Steve, since he has a relationship with the owner, if he'd like to reach out to him. So I'm waiting to hear back from that, but I guess pending what the owner says.
We might be getting on troubling ground if we're going to start splitting the zone up down there. We can't have part commercial and part industrial. I think it's going to be an all or nothing proposition in the end, Derek. So we have to be careful which way we tread on our opinion down there. Because you can't just what that does is that creates spot zoning, which is what zoning is all about eliminating.
Yep.
That's why when you get involved with ZBA, they make decisions on this lot and that lot, and that's what the whole thing is all about, to try to make things so that this is this and this is that. So I would be cautious in making a suggestion that we would have a commercial lots and an industrial lots all in the same park.
But yet, what's across the street? What do we just allow to go across the
Commercial.
street? Exactly. So we get industrial and we get commercial. So to me,
That was not. How did that go? That went on the ballot, didn't it, Brian?
it did.
It was.
Yeah. So I don't think, and I don't know if
I guess all I'm saying is
I think you should check the.
it's still gonna be tough in this town. I guess is all I'm saying, to try to commercial and industrial not have them somewhat co-mingle.
Cross
Look at Cody Park. Look around it. There's tons of commercial abutting those properties. To the industrial.
I think you should look at that zoning article and see if the planning board recommended that article or not.
And I don't disagree
not
with
sure,
that. But
but
what I do have a problem with is if we have R1 in one section, well, where do we end it? Oh, geez, we don't want it near commercial, or we don't want commercial near industrial. This is where I feel a lot of the problems have happened in this town. Is we don't want this to commingle with that. We don't want it. We only have so much. So I guess all I'm saying is whatever we can do to mix it and make it work to move things on. Otherwise, we're just gonna have a bunch of land sitting around because everybody's arguing about what it should or shouldn't be. I guess I don't know. It's just my opinion.
I guess we can wait to hear back from the property owner. If,
obviously that's the ultimate decision.
See what he would like. Again, he was on board with the commercial industrial flex. Tim, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't get a sense from the planning board that they were opposed to that. But I think they just wanted to respond to a comment from the audience that somebody might currently have a potential project there.
That would be industrial, is what you're saying?
Yeah, that the change in he just said the change in zoning would affect it. How it would, I'm not sure.
It was the surveyor that was doing the work for
Oh
him.
yeah.
At the meeting, the gentleman that spoke, is that the one you're speaking of?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, he was just saying that there's a active purchase and sale agreement, and he wanted to make sure that we didn't change the zoning on it if the zoning was going to negatively affect that purchase and sale on that one particular lot.
Well, I think that we can make all the recommendations we want, but I think the planning board is going to make the ultimate decision on whether they want to support the article and move it forward, or if they want to see that property developed as an industrial property.
Yep.
The only problem with the industrial property there is that it's been hamstrung by the city of Manchester and the no trucking signs that were installed the day after the approval was made.
Right.
And that property's been sitting there for
Years.
6 or 7 years now, empty.
I'll bet
Well,
you
I was on the
9+.
board for 8, and it was approved while I was on the board, I believe, maybe prior to me.
You got the final approval in 2006, I believe.
Well, in any event, I think we should defer to the planning board and their decision based on what they think is best for the property. We can make our recommendation, and then let the planning board make their decision.
Yeah, and I think the planning board just wanted to wait to hear from the property owner to make sure that we were doing what the property owner wants and what's going to help make the land more marketable.
I'm sorry.
Do we have time to wait to make a recommendation? I mean, our next meeting is in December, and when do we have to get things on the ballot?
They usually have their first public hearing in December.
Yeah, so do we have time?
And then they have,
Or,
I guess what you could do is recommend to maintain it at the commercial industrial flex. And what it does is they could notice it that way for December. And then if they got feedback from the owner or from someone else that changed the planning board's mind at that point, they would still have time to adjust it and re-notify for a January public hearing. So, and then just leave it to them to change.
And if something doesn't happen, we've done our part to try to help the owner. And if the owner is going to make a kind of put us in the middle of a decision-making process, ultimately it's the owner that is going to benefit or not benefit from it. And I'm certain that the owner would like to benefit from it first, and then we as taxpayers would like to benefit from it second. So I think the ball's in the owner's court. I think we should continue with our recommendation to the planning board, and then leave it in the planning board's hands to decide which direction they want to go with it.
Yeah, I agree.
You want to make a motion?
All right, I'll make a motion for the Goffstown Economic Development Council to continue to pursue the Pondview Park Industrial proposed zoning change, and make the recommendation to the planning board as the council has decided,
Which was commercial industrial
which is
flex.
to change that to a commercial flex industrial. So,
Now, we recommend that, and then they're going to obviously fine tune it if things
They have the ability to,
change or whatever.
yes, because they have a first public hearing in the beginning of December, and then they have a second public hearing in January.
I second that.
and timing is right for us to do this, make this recommendation then, is what we're,
It is now because they had a discussion after we left that evening. They went right into the planner's discussion on zoning amendments. So they are looking right now at zoning amendments.
and they have to do a public notice for public hearings on any proposed zone changes, and they have to be noticed prior to a certain date, and they need to get their stuff done. We're actually a little late making this proposal to the planning board, but it's still in time for them to consider it.
and can we put in there, subject to the owner's input? I mean, I don't want to make that recommendation if the owner's not in favor of
They're
that.
already set with that, aren't they?
But you're saying something about there's a purchase and sales potentially on the property? I mean, that could affect that.
For an industrial lot.
Right, I don't want
No, so
us to impact that sale by making the recommendation.
We're not, it's already waiting, it's already at
Okay.
that spot of waiting for the feedback.
a motion for our council to make that recommendation to the planning board is basically what it is. It's a recommendation.
Okay.
It's nothing binding. So the planning board then could consider our recommendation based on the input they get from the owner.
That's
And if the
important.
owner says, I have something going, I'd like to defer that for a year, then the planning board can say, based on that information, we will not recommend the article.
Okay.
And after that, if it's the other way around, that the industrial proposition fell through, that owner could say to the planning board, I would like to, like the board to consider this for us, and then it's, once again, it's back to the board.
Okay.
And what I can do is we can make the property owner aware of this recommendation, as well as the gentleman that stood up in the audience,
Okay.
and make them aware so they can be aware of what's going to the planning board and analyze if it does affect any
Yeah, that's
potential.
important.
I've got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next item, at that same meeting, we presented the certified sites regulations. What I have here tonight for you is just what I had sent out by email, a copy of the regulations and the memo. And I also have a copy of, I'll pass this down to Brian, a copy of regulations that have already been adopted by Wyndham for participation in the certified sites. I think a lot of the questions that we had from the planning board members were some of the mechanics of how it works, the fee structure. Again, it's what we explained was there would be a application fee through the Goffstown Planning Board, which has not yet been determined, and then there would be a fee to Southern New Hampshire Planning, which is the administration of this program for the regional marketing piece, and they have not set a fee yet at this point either. There was some discussion about minimum requirements on why it was 1 acre, why you couldn't go smaller, and we're still looking at if Southern New Hampshire Planning would lower that threshold. Let's see, what else?
Brian, are these sections from Wyndham, section 1150, do they feel that these 2 pages covers everything they need to be concerned with?
Yes, they do.
And after you reviewed them, do they look like Goffstown would be able to live with these 1, 2, 3, 4 sections and satisfy the program and keep this condensed and not a 40-page addendum to the zoning regulations?
I haven't really looked at them in terms of ours. I mean, some of the items we would definitely have to change, and I think the one thing that is missing from here that we really crafted in there was the idea of the comprehensive development plan and the comprehensive development agreement that would bind a developer if they were at a level 2 or a level 3, that legally binding document that says exactly how it's going to be built, what if there's any phasing, anything like that. That is not in here, and I think that was a major topic of when we discussed about it. They went very simple. Wyndham went very simple with their.
Well, sometimes simple is good. It looks, you know.
Brian, I sent you an email. Brian, excuse me, Derek.
You've done that quite a few times, but I figured I knew what it
You
was
know, I'm
from.
thinking I'm still talking to Brian
I know,
Rose.
you're still thinking you're on the planning board.
I'm not. I don't want to
Those
be.
are the old days.
Mark Warden asked about the Southern New Hampshire planning, marketing versus the commercial real estate brokers. Derek, I think I sent you an email. Is there any considered joint venture between Southern New Hampshire planning and brokers to, I mean, there's going to be real estate commissions involved, right, for selling property?
Yeah, again, this doesn't change who's selling the property. This is just an additional marketing venue for whoever's selling it.
But I mean, does all this stuff need to be built into our regulations so that it's all cut and dried and clear?
All what stuff?
How it's going to work. I mean, you can't just adopt regulations and then have the Southern New Hampshire planning and a real estate broker fighting over.
I think all we were saying was this is a development regulation amendment that allows somebody to get plan approval for up to 5 years. And if they choose to, they can then go and participate in that Southern New Hampshire planning program.
I agree what you're saying, but I think it's important that prior to the full implementation of something like this, we need to know some questions about what Southern New Hampshire Planning is doing for marketing fees and commissions and things like that, because
They're just putting it on the
Yeah, they're
Ready,
just-
Set, Go website.
Right.
that's all they're doing? Well, then who actually makes the sale? Is it a commercial broker that's going to tag on to the website and be able to, I mean, somebody has to have a closing and someone has to have an appraisal and a title search and all that stuff.
But that has nothing to do
It has
with
nothing to do with the certified
Yeah.
site plan.
It does have nothing to do with it, and that's going to be clearly defined? Because I wasn't sure how that all worked, because we had a lot of questions about that, and I don't think I got the answers.
No, they were generally, my understanding was they were going to do it as part of their website. I guess if it got to the point where you got 5 to 10 of these in all 14 communities, they may have the budget to then go to, whether it's a regional,
So a Ready, Set, Go website is part A. Part B is for Chris, who has a commercial lot to sell. He makes a deal with a commercial real estate broker, and the sign is out in front of his land, and they see the Ready, Set, Go advertisement. They call up Chris. Chris says, "Yeah, here's my broker," and then it's handed off to Chris and the broker for the actual closing?
All of the properties that are available are on this website.
That's all it is.
And then if Chris was a developer and he was looking for a property to develop, he
Right.
would look on this website to see what was available, and he would contact the broker directly.
Also,
It's nothing
there are real
to
estate
do with the
brokers involved in this process.
website. Possibly.
Oh, yeah,
possibly
yeah.
just
Only if
owners.
the owner chooses to
That's
have
correct.
a broker.
The owner might decide to do his
They
his
could
own
try to do
sale.
it on fair sale by owner.
Because that was one of the questions that was raised at the planning board
Right.
meeting.
But that has nothing to do with the site itself.
Okay, good. As long as that's going to be clearly stated, and people don't get the wrong idea that Southern New Hampshire Planning has gone into the real estate business.
Because you're right, with Mark Warden's question, that's definitely what it's geared towards is, can Southern New Hampshire do a better job of selling properties than a brokerage firm, commercial brokerage firm? But this is not trying to sell it. This is just a place that people can go to find properties that are available, that have gone through the town's planning board
Right,
steps.
it's like the town assisting these landowners. It's giving them one more place to put out
I
their,
think that's great. I just need
Properties.
to, if I don't understand it, and I've been working on it here for a couple of months, I think we need to make sure we are very clear when it comes to presenting this as to what the mechanics are of it, and how
Definitely.
people can get from point A to point B to the sale of their property.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So those were the main questions. And I know that I have some homework to do for the planning board, and the planning board basically took a vote at the end of the night to have EDC come back in January or February to provide some of those answers to the question. There were some questions about how long have states or regional economic development groups been doing this around the country, what the success rate has been,
Feedback from other states.
feedback of any negatives
And positives.
and positives. They also want us to look at a potential, which sites, what we would have as a current stock of sites or inventory of
Inventory.
sites that would potentially be ready right away, that have some level of approval on them already. But that was pretty much it, and I think before we get to January, February, we should probably start talking about how we explain this to people who are brand new to this. Because again, there's some people that have been involved with Access Greater Manchester for the last year and a half have worked on this, and now the EDC has worked on regulations for the last couple months. Planning board has seen a couple presentations, but I think we're seeing members of the public see this for the very first time. And the thing that was stressed at the meeting, the planning board meeting, by also some of the members from the questions from the members, was this does not change zoning. And I think that's the biggest. I mean, some people see that when it is a change to land use regulations, but it is not a change to zoning. It's not a change to what you can do on a lot, or what your setbacks are, or anything like that.
And also that it's not a town program, it's not a town force program, nothing. The only business that the town has to do with it is a chance for a property owner to go and say to potential buyers, look, I've got some of the red tape cut, I've got some of my approvals taken care of, so my property is ready to go. That's all it is, completely voluntary. And all fees are paid for by the property owners if they want to market their property through this site.
I think explaining it to the public is going to be the biggest challenge we have, because we don't want the public to think this is here comes another Planned Pinardville project
Exactly.
down the pike because of the opposition to that. This is nothing like it. This is a different animal completely.
It's not even remotely close.
So if we can get out in front of the explanation of what it is and what the benefits are, maybe we can quell some questions from the residents before they get here and
Start getting scared.
and begin agonizing over another.
Right, something that could benefit them as opposed to hurting them.
And ultimately, it's in the planning board's hands. It's still you have to go through all the processes of the planning board. There's nothing changing at all.
Exactly,
We have to work on that, I would believe.
definitely.
Make sure we clearly explain the agenda and what the program is and how it affects the community and the things it doesn't do as well.
Right. Because if I'm looking to buy your property, one of my concerns is my plan going to be okay with the town? And if you tell me that I've got my property already given the thumbs up by the town pending what my particular site plan is, I'm going to be more willing to come and look at your property versus some other property because you've already eliminated a bunch of the red tape I need to go through.
All right, and as I gather that information, I'll share it with you, and we can come up with a plan of action for probably the meeting in February. They have their hearings for zoning in January. So, and then the only other item I had was just a reminder that Access Greater Manchester has a meeting on Tuesday, November 19th, from 3 to 5.
What's that about?
Their topic is how the Greater Manchester region can take better economic development advantage of our colleges and universities. So they usually have a panel there. Anyone else have anything else?
You said something in the email about scheduling for meetings and stuff also?
Yes,
Because we really screwed things up over at the budget committee.
the budget committee starting next week has an aggressive schedule, and they're going to be meeting Wednesday, Thursday till Christmas, basically. And I also, I'll be covering a couple of those budget committee meetings. So the one on, I think it's December 4th.
Yep.
I'll be attending that one. So I didn't know what people's schedule looked like, if there was a certain night of the week that people could attend.
Let me ask this, as a committee, do we have anything pressing for the month of December that we have to have a meeting for? Because as a committee, we can decide to cancel a meeting. I mean, we're decided on what we want to present for the Pondview Park proposed zone change. The certified site regulations are going to be a slower process than the next 30 days. The sign there's a lot of legwork to do on the sign. Unless there's something new and pressing, as a council, we can decide not to have a meeting in December and wait and have a January meeting.
And I can guarantee you, I don't care what day you put it on, I'm probably not coming. Because the way Pete is with these meetings, he has us there till 11 o'clock at night, so.
I'd like to make a motion that we do not have a December meeting for the Economic Development Council, and we schedule a meeting after the first of the year.
Makes sense, I guess. I mean, kind of a busy month, honestly.
I'll second that, as long as we can have a lot of answers for the January meeting.
Yep.
You know, full designs for the signs, price estimates.
For a man that's got 8 things going at once,
You
maybe
got
a
all
little
sorts
more
of
time
time,
would help
don't
him
you?
out.
Now, when, let me just think about this. When did you guys schedule the deliberative session and all that stuff?
That was,
You guys voted on that last week or something. I watched that, but I just can't remember what it was. I wanted to say like,
I think February 5th, which is a Wednesday night.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why I'm
And
saying
then
that 'cause I knew it was in.
And then the snow date is the Thursday.
So that was that. So we'd still get I thought there was something else we have in.
Budget hearings.
Yeah, you have your budget
January,
hearings in
right?
January,
That's right.
usually the second
So I'm looking at
Monday.
February deliberative session. Definitely that night. It's not going to happen on that Wednesday. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out where we're going to be.
We can probably figure out something by
Yeah.
consensus in
Yep.
the middle of January.
Yep.
And,
If the planning board decides to recommend the certified site program as well as, or the Pondview Park zoning change, one or the other or both, will we have to be at the deliberative session to explain this at the deliberative session?
I don't know the answer.
if it is a zoning amendment,
No.
as the,
Well-
as Pondview is, it's not discussed at the deliberative because it cannot be modified at the deliberative. The certified sites
Is
is,
in-house.
right now is proposed as a development regulation amendment, which is not
Go on the ballot.
does not go on the ballot.
Okay. So we won't have to make public presentations at any upcoming meetings. It's,
Correct.
I don't remember. Is the planning board in the past explained a lot of that stuff?
No, they haven't, but there was one year when EDC recommended the economic revitalization, or the ER, it's not ERZ, but it's 79E. It's an application process where somebody revitalizing a property can
No, I remember that,
can
yeah.
apply for. I explained that at the deliberative session because that did go to the voters.
Yeah.
You would have to explain it at the public hearing for the planning board.
Yes, at the public hearing, but I think,
I guess that's what I was thinking. I'm like deliberative. I don't remember any of that stuff.
and my sense was they weren't looking to do a public hearing in February. They were looking to chew on it for 30, 60 days, ask some questions, and then go back and talk to
Well, I
them.
was talking about Pondview.
Oh, okay,
The
Pondview.
zoning change, yeah.
the only thing I can say, when you come to deliberative session, generally speaking, you're better off to be prepared and give answers than you are to not show up and not have any answers, and people walk away with a feeling that I'm not going to vote for this because nobody was there to explain it to us. But if we don't have to explain a zoning change at deliberative, we don't need to worry about it. But you're right about the public hearing for the planning board.
Right.
We'd have to explain it at that time.
Anyone have anything else?
We
Vote on
need
the
to
motion.
vote on the motion though, for the
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
January meeting.
Yeah.
I got
I had
a
a
motion after
first
that.
and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
So we'll meet in January.